Hello, how's it going, all of you beautiful people around the world? My name is Ryan, aka Blackbeard TCG, and in today's video I want to talk about the OP01 metagame, because for the English release that's coming on December 2nd, we are finally getting OP01. I know, I've been making a ton of content on OP02 because obviously the Asian release came out, and obviously that is the flavor of the month, or will be the flavor of the months going forward up until set 3. But for us, we are getting our first set in less than 4 weeks. So I kind of wanted to make this video to talk about what I think is going to happen with our metagame, how it's going to progress, and just give you guys my thoughts. I'm also very curious to hear what you guys think. So please let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. Going forward, I'm going to start doing a comment of the video type thing in my videos. So I'll be taking one comment from this video and talking about it briefly in my next video. So definitely want to boost up the engagement with you guys. So go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments below. But with that being said, let's get into it. So first and foremost, the introduction. Please remember, obviously this is all my opinion, right? These are my thoughts after playing a ton of the OP01 metagame myself. Obviously we have tools like Tabletop Simulator, as well as One Piece trading card game sim. If you guys haven't utilized those tools, I highly recommend you do. Find some matches, you can join the Discord and things like that, and just play test and figure out what the metagame would look like in your eyes. I highly recommend that. But then also, this video is mainly to create a discussion and is not an end-all be-all, right? Don't watch this video and just say, oh my god, Ryan, like, you're completely wrong, the meta is going to be like this, or be like, oh, thanks for the idea, Ryan, like, oh, thanks for giving me the heads up, and then you go to your locals and it's completely different, right? This video is mainly to create discussion. I just want to talk about what we can take away from the Japanese tournaments and all the tournaments in the Asian regions, and stuff like that. And lastly, I want to be focusing on the early parts of what OP01 will look like, and then I'll talk about what it could look like towards the end of set 1. So without further ado, let's talk about the S tier. So to no surprise to anybody, Mono Green Kid is firmly in S tier. He's in S tier because of his known power, right? Everybody knows that Kid is very powerful, even if you just played in the Super pre-release, right? A lot of people that won the Super pre-release were playing Kid just because of how strong the deck is, just because of how good Supernovas are, and it's only going to get better with the full release of the deck, right? Once 8-drop Kid comes out, it's going to be a lot more formidable. A 7-drop Kid is also a very formidable defensive wall, and overall, just being able to swing twice with your leader is something that's always going to be a consistent pressure and looming threat to the opponent. And most importantly, because it's green, it has access to the Wano package. I've talked about this many times before in the past in terms of how I feel, how strong that archetype is, and because Kid has access to it, you can splash the Wano package in with your Supernova package to really make Eustace Kid a top tier deck. Definitely S tier. Would not be surprised to see a lot of people pick him up right away and see it start dominating events, dominating tournaments, dominating locals. Conversely, in Japan and other places, we didn't see as much Kid early on, but because we know how strong Kid is now, I can definitely see a lot of people piloting it early on. The next deck that I think is firmly in S tier is going to be Mono Red Luffy. So first and foremost, Luffy's a character that almost everybody likes if you like One Piece. So just because he is the main character, people are probably going to pilot a Monkey D. Luffy deck, right? Even if they've never played the One Piece card game before, just because they know Luffy, they'll probably pick up Luffy. And Luffy's actually a really good deck. It has insane pressure and the flexibility to play a mid to late game style, right? Of course, you have the aggressive power of Rush, but this deck can also excel to the mid to late game with cards like your 5-drop Luffy. Oh, wow, why did I stutter over that? But I did this all in one take. The 5-drop Luffy, you have access to your 9-drop Shanks, right? Unfortunately, in the English release, we don't have anything confirmed for some of the other cards like Yasop and Ben Beckman, some more higher powered vanilla cards that could also be seen play in Monkey D. Luffy. But with cards like Jet Pistol and Otama, in order to deal with green, being super aggressive, it's a deck where its counter is not really that popular, being in Doflamingo or being decks that really run a ton of blockers. I don't think that Doflamingo is going to be as prevalent in our meta just because I feel like he's not perceived as being as OP as some of the other decks. And because of that, I feel like Mono Red Luffy will be able to run rampant because he also has a really good matchup against Mono Green Kid. So those are my two decks that I could definitely see being in the S tier. Now, I know you guys are probably saying, where the hell is Red Green Law? And I'll get to that. So A tier. What is next in A tier? Well, why am I going back? Sorry. In A tier, we have Mono Purple Kaido. Now, a lot of people would argue that Kaido should probably be an S tier. And you know what? I was debating for a while, and I think you guys could be right. I would not be upset if somebody has this in their S tier. I think Kaido is going to be really good. It's a comfortable deck that feels great when it gets going. 100%. You get your Onigashima and you can really start ramping and really start putting the pressure on board. It's a very simple deck to pilot as well. So, you know, I don't want to downplay it like how like Luffy or Zoro are in terms of being almost brain dead. Kaido, you still need a little bit of strategy, but its units are very powerful in King and Queen and generating advantage and getting board control. And then, of course, you always have the looming threat of your leader to trash one life, but then also the late game power of the Kaido character card as well as the promo are something that a lot of people are going to have to be worried about, especially because we're going to have access to the promos from day one. So honestly, I could see Kaido being S tier as well. Yeah, I easily could be seeing Kaido being S tier. I think that it's a deck that will catch new players off guard, and they'll need to learn how to play Kaido. You can't really play versus Kaido the way that you play against other decks, because he will win a war of attrition, right? More often than not. But yeah, I have him at the very top of my A tier, borderline S tier. Up next, I have Mono Red Zorro, a deck that's seen a lot of play very early on in the Japanese and Asian regions. It's a deck that is literally brain dead, turn your brain off, go face, easy to play. And I'm going to make a video on this a little bit later as I continue to make more content on OP01. This is a deck where, like, if I'm trying to get my friends to get into One Piece, I'm going to tell them to play Zorro. If people know One Piece, like if you talk about One Piece, people will know about Luffy and people know about Zorro, right? Zorro is one of the most popular characters in the series. And because of that, a lot of people are going to play him regardless, right? Just because it's Zorro. And it just so happens, again, Zorro is really good, having the ability to make vanillas be able to swing at the leader. This new version I put in quotation is the one that's running vanillas now that have 4,000 power, like Sai and Vivi. And I think there's another one that people are running that are 4,000 power and then using one Dawn on Zorro to pump it up. You have things like Rush Sanji, you have things like Rush Luffy, you have things like Rush Zorro to really put on the pressure. It's very brain off, go face. And so because of that, I think it's going to be an A tier because a lot of people are going to play it and a lot of people aren't really going to be able to figure out how to deal with its aggression early on in our meta. And it's a deck that even right now in set 2 is still performing very, very well with minimal upgrades. It's just a really good, consistent, aggressive deck. I don't know how else to put it. It's really good. So up next, I want to talk about B tier. So if we're talking about B tier, I just want to give a little bit of context. S tier is decks that I think that can easily take events, would not be surprising a ton of Green Kid, a ton of Mono Red Luffy just topping left, right, and center, and also borderline Purple Kaido. B tier and A tier is decks that can also, you know, swing with those decks as well in terms of Zorro being in that, and obviously purple, Mono Red Kaido as well. Mono Purple Kaido, sorry. B tier specifically are decks that I think have potential and will eventually come up to A or even S tier. First being Red Green Law. Red Green Law is, without a doubt, the most difficult deck to pilot in OP01. But a good Law player will make this deck S tier. Like, I think people won't disagree with that. I think a lot of people will acknowledge that Trafalgar Law being able to beat out Kid a lot of times, if played correctly, automatically will make him S tier. In fact, towards the end of set 1, we were just seeing Laws topping left, right, and center because people learned how to pilot the deck. I think that that is going to be something that's very similar to us as well. I think that obviously, although people know that Law is going to be a good deck, he is a deck that takes a lot of time and matchup knowledge, and you really have to know how to pilot the deck. And like if you just watched videos of people piloting Law, you could definitely see the people that know the deck and know the combos and know the setups, and then people that like just net decked and are just trying to play the deck, right? Like this is not Zorro, right? And because of that, I can see Law definitely getting into that S tier towards the end of set 1 or maybe midway through set 1. But to start off early on in events, I would be very surprised if we start seeing Law like ramping up and just taking events. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it like takes one here or there, or like if people have like local reports and like it's winning because people have been playing for set 1 when it originally came out in Asia, right? Like let's say like they haven't just started playing just the English release, then yeah, I could see it winning. But if we're talking about like a clear playing field or just having a majority of newer players coming in just starting, I don't see Law dominating that early. Up next is Mono Blue Croc. Now, this is a deck that I'm very, very excited to play. I think he's underrated. He's not popular due to other decks clearly shining. And by clearly shining, I mean Mono Green Kid is clearly a threat. Purple Kaido, Mono Red Luffy. These are decks that are very, very clearly threatening. And it's so funny because these are the 3 starter decks. So what about the 4th one? What about Croc? Well, Croc is also really good. It's a control playstyle that, like I said, it's very underappreciated. It has a pretty good matchup spread. It has tools to play against any matchup. If you need to have a more blocker focused heavy type of game plan against red, you have that. You have a little bit more of a controlled board against Mono Green Kid. You can easily pump up your units as well and take over or take down some of those big beefy blockers and annoying cards in the 7 and 8 drop kids. It's a deck that can perform very well, 100%. And we're seeing that right now and towards the end of set 1 and definitely going into set 2, that Crocodile is a threat. And so I definitely could see Crocodile creeping into the A tier. I don't think he'll quite crack S tier, but I can definitely see him A tier, at least for OP01 as we continue to progress. But for now, B tier. And lastly, Doflamingo. Honestly, unfortunately, I think Doflamingo will probably stay here in B tier. I don't really see him going past this just because his worst matchup is Kid. And we talked about how Kid is the shiny toy that everybody's going to be playing. Kid will just shit on him, right? Just built into his effect. I know that some people are playing Doflamingo a little bit more aggro and a little bit more aggressive by just continuously bringing characters out and those builds. I'm not too sure how well that will fare up overall, but it's extremely fun to pilot, and honestly, it has pretty good matchups. It's really good against the super aggressive Zorro deck and Luffy deck because you have all of those blockers, and so at some point they're gonna have to go through your blockers and they're not really gonna be able to hit face, and you'll win that war of attrition. It has a decent-ish matchup against Kaido, where you're in a situation where you can really put a lot of pressure on him. But again, I think that the struggle will be against Kid. And because there's so many Kid players, or expected to be so many Kid players, I don't know, guys. I don't think Doflamingo is going to be there. That's just my opinion, though. Hopefully I'm wrong, because you guys know how excited I am to play him. But for blue, I'll probably be playing a lot more Crocodile over Doflamingo, but I am not sleeping on Doflamingo. I will still play him, but if I really want to win and I really want to play blue, I will probably pilot Crocodile. Now, decks for the future, Blurple Croc, Odin, and Red Green Luffy are all decks I will get better in OP02. I don't see these decks topping at all in OP01. They just simply don't have the tools. Blurple Croc gets the Impel Down engine in OP02, which will be better. Odin continues to get more cards in the Wano package in OP02, and Red Green Luffy gets access to more cards in red to make it stronger, but then also the film cards to allow it to shine a little bit further in terms of freestanding. So these are decks for the future. I don't think that they will be able to perform right now. And lastly, meme decks, King, Blurple Kaido, Shanks, and Utah. King is just lol.deck. I mean, why would you play King when mono Purple Kaido exists? And why would you play Purple Kaido when you could just play mono Purple Kaido and just shit on people? I don't know. To each their own, though. I see them more as a meme. Like, if I'm going up against a Blurple Kaido, I'm a lot happier to go up against that than to go up against a mono Purple Kaido, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And honestly, Shanks and Utah are just, I mean, Utah we probably won't even have, purely because of, we just don't have the promo words. But Shanks, obviously we're getting in the film deck. And yeah, film just doesn't have enough support. Even in set 2, I don't think that film is going to see play. Like, it's just a meme fan service deck. But overall, that's my list, guys. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember, I will be posting one comment in one of my videos and replying to it. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.